Hey, all. Sorry about that. Hey, all. All right, so we got to we're at this point now. I've done a few layers of gesso and filler, and quite a bit of sand. You can see, maybe you can see it now. The facets that we put in here, hopefully pronounced enough. So around the nose, it's basically 8-sided facets all around, and the main ones run the length of the fuselage here, here, and here, the bottom, and then there's these 2 facets here. And it's not I don't want to put it, it's not exactly the way the YPT9 is shaped, but it is a close approximation. And since we're converting a kit that is a complete, well, it's a relatively different airplane. It's related to the YPT9, and yet, you know, it has a lot of differences. But anyway, so once it was completely sanded and gessoed, I made a template for the cockpit cutouts using French circle and cardstock. You just well, I can go over it in depth. The reason there's not a streaming video of that is once again, I was having some difficulty with the camera. It's just me. The camera's great. It's operator. Well, I'm a trainee. Let's call it that. So I'm just learning how to work the thing. But anyway, so we made a template using the French circles, French guides, and using that, we got our template, centered it, found the center line on where the keel is on the top of the aircraft, drew our line through the center of our template, made our pattern, cut it out, laid it over this wood covering, drew the outlines of pencil, and then carefully cut them out with our X-Acto blade, and popped the plugs out. Here they are. You see, I started off and I made it a little too small. I made the cutouts a little too small. I could tell by looking. Once they were drawn on there, you can see how that's going to look, and it was just obviously too small. So I went back with the guide, and I noticed that essentially these side cutouts come down into this facet, into this one, and also the way that the windscreen lined up with it. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. In other words, when the windscreens are on there, this line dips below the end line or the corner of the windscreen, and the way this was, the windscreen was actually lower than the bottom of this cutout, so that was obviously incorrect. So I just widened the template and redrew it onto the fuselage, and then cut out to that line, and that's how we ended up with this. Now I'm going to reinforce this. I'm going to go ahead and glue this on here for a couple of reasons on the YPT9, and I posted links to those images of what I'm talking about, the YPT9 aircraft, and then also some photos of the other models I've done, and they're in the links on the most recent video before this one. Anyway, if you go through the videos, you'll find in the comments the links that I put in there, and so you can see how see that. But what was I saying? I'm going to go ahead and glue this on here. Oh, on the YPT9, you can see that there are it looks like aluminum panels. That this is an aluminum panel around the cutouts. That there's that it actually extends out to here, but because of the change in the trajectory, the slope of the top of the cockpit, if I made this all one piece out to here, as I folded it down, it would crease along the edge here. It just wouldn't conform to that compound, those 2 compound curves, this one and that one. So I cut it off right where that begins, and I'll put a separate piece out to about here, and then it extends all the way down to the base of the fuselage. Just like, almost like the current, the most popular Stearman, the Stearman PTs 13 and 17. They're aluminum out here and then down and around the nose. The whole front end basically has an aluminum skin, and then it's fabric and aluminum tubing structure everywhere else. But the nose is all metal, and that's how this is. That's how this airplane looks too. I'm going to replicate that to the best of my limited capability. So we should see that once all that's done, and then I'll gesso it again. The whole airplane will get that gesso and be smoothed again. I'll have to be careful around this. I'm still thinking of maybe using, instead of paper, I might use the birch ply, this stuff, just because it's a little stronger. It's about the same thickness, and I can sand on it, which I can't do on paper. The paper, as you know, when you sandpaper on paper, it tears. I keep thinking, I'm going to probably use that instead of the cardstock. At any rate, this is where we are. So yeah, we're getting there. We keep getting closer. Oh, I put an exhaust collection ring on our motor. Again, I'm making this a Lycoming engine, which has that feature on the front instead of behind. So this will go here, and then it's plumbed with pipes go to each cylinder, kind of in an arc, kind of a spiral arc, like spokes on a wheel. They go out and up into each cylinder. I've already drilled out the sides of the left-hand valve here, where that connects to. You'll see as that comes together. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some more recordings of what I'm doing here. Sort out the camera and get that going for you. But there you go. That's you know, as I say, this is the look. We're starting to see what we're going for here. I hope you can see the instruments in there. So I still have to drop in the control yokes, and but that's not going to be a problem. And set the windscreens. All that comes later in trim. All right, later.